The Untold Secret of My Connie, My First and Last Love, is the story of author Pradeep Berry and the love of his life, Constance Berry. As with all love stories, this journey has its highs and lows, but there's one constant throughout the tale: love. It is also a story of travel, grief, and life lessons. The couple visited many places and witnessed many events. In their time together, author Pradeep Berry learned countless valuable wisdoms which he shares with the reader in his book. One such passage comes to us in Discussion on Lovely Dogs. The author considers the deep faithfulness of dogs. They love their masters unconditionally, whether they are rich or poor, sick or unwell. They would sacrifice themselves for their master, and a good master treats them perfectly in return. It is more than that, though. A dog can sense the character of another person. They know immediately whether or not to trust a person, a sense which many humans do not possess. The author is not making this point without reason. Pradeep Berry places this paragraph directly after discussing Constance's brother. After Connie's tragic passing, her brother Michael is nowhere to be found. He had a history of not keeping in touch, and it was sadly the same story after Connie's demise. He would not visit the hospital during her final days, and he made no effort to keep in touch with Pradeep about the status of Constance's health. The sad twist revealed later in the story is that the hospital and Michael would make the ultimate decision on Constance's situation. For all of these reasons and many more, Pradeep believes that Michael's behavior towards his sister is unforgivable, and he expresses this through subtle metaphor in the text. By contrasting his reflections on dogs, how they sacrifice themselves for others and do whatever's necessary for a fellow being, with the behavior of Constance's brother, the author brings profound insight to family relations. The reader cannot help noticing Pradeep's own unconditional love for Connie and her love for him. They both made many sacrifices for each other throughout their long and happy marriage. Connie served Pradeep faithfully, and Pradeep reciprocated that in kind. When put next to the lovely imagery of dogs and interbeing relationships, it's clear that their love was something transcendent. Such instances of subtle wisdom are scattered throughout the narrative, bringing light to this incredible story from a range of different angles. The Untold Secret of My Connie, while filled with many positive and uplifting themes, is also a tragic story. Beyond the medical negligence and unpleasant circumstances at the hospital, the author gives us insight into the grieving process. In the book, he not only gives us vivid descriptions of his own pain, but offers his reflections for the reader to consider. There's no better example of this than in his discussion of ancient Egypt. The author notes the practices of this renowned ancient culture and considers what we all might learn from them. He believes that they would mummify their dead as a way of coping with the loss of their loved ones, as an extension of life after death for those who are left behind. Author Pradeep Berry believes that it was right for these cultures to preserve the bodies so that people could feel that their loved ones were still there with them, that they had a presence even after passing. The body itself being preserved is important, he believes, since it is a physical reminder of the person that has moved on. In this modern age, Pradeep was able to mummify Connie by taking videos and memories of her final days. While she went into cardiac arrest, her last breath, her cremation, and in the chapel. We're given tragic, though inspiring images of the author's own experience after Connie's passing. He keeps her pictures in the house. He sleeps with a picture of his beloved wife while he sleeps. All, in his own words, as a combination of happiness for the memory of our life together and sadness for her loss. This bittersweet combination of tragedy and joy is perhaps the most powerful theme throughout the book. It shows us that even in deep pain and tragedy, we can still find hope and remember the good. The author reminds us that life is not simple, but that we can overcome the pains which are thrown our way. In this section, the author also gives us an idea of the sacrifices he made for his wife while she was ill. My life was dedicated to serving Connie. Making and serving her the best breakfast food was my greatest happiness. He also did many of the household chores and attended to any of Constance's needs. Again, we see that the care he offered her was not a simple process. It was a mixture of pain and joy, sadness and happiness, love and fear. This love is powerful and undeniable, but it is certainly also unique. Later on in the book, The author describes a chance meeting at a restaurant in Captiva Island, Florida. It so happens that this person, an elderly, well-kempt gentleman, was once a famous journalist. Pradeep didn't recognize him at first. However, on talking further, the man revealed his identity. He also revealed that his wife had passed and that he too was in the process of grieving a death. At the time, Pradeep could not understand his pain. Constance was alive and well. They were together in the restaurant with this older gentleman in Florida after all. However, on writing this book, he reflects upon this great man's experience. He recognizes how much pain he must have been feeling at the time. Having been through the same experience now, from the positive of writing this book, he's given an entirely new perspective. It leads us to another discussion of grief and how people cope. The biggest message is that we all cope differently. We should not compare our situation to others. The author believes that while it may be good to gain knowledge by comparing yourself to others, in the long term it cannot work. You cannot live by the same principles as another, since we are each different and lead different lives. He discusses admiration. When you idolize a figure and try to live your life as they have, you cannot make it work. He believes that you cannot be another person and that this is okay. It's how it's supposed to be. This is emphasized by Pradeep's experience with the medical staff in charge of Constance's health. The doctors would give Pradeep examples of other people and how they grieved, how they were able to work their way out of grief, and that he could do the same. If only he could do the same things by the same methods as these other people, he would surely be okay. Here we are given another piece of wisdom from the Indian-born author. People should not compare losses. When they're grieving, the best advice you can give them is, please look after your health. Do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. This emphasis on finding the good in life, of doing what makes you happy in the face of terrible pain, is one of the most inspiring messages in the book. The author understands that life goes on, but this does not mean you must forget or lose the happiness you once had. He also points to one's responsibility when faced with someone who is grieving. It can be natural to want to help them, to give advice and tell them what they need to do. Pradeep Berry believes that you should not dictate to another how they ought to live their life because each pain is different. One cannot understand the pain others have gone through, and so it isn't possible to tell them how to respond to tragedy. By telling one person what you did will not necessarily help them either. It is an individual journey, and you must trust your own path. Another important message we are given is related to this point on advice giving. Do not play with somebody's sentiments by giving them false hope. The author makes a strong note of this and wants to make sure that his readers understand it. He was told by some people to read the biographies and autobiographies of others, that these books could somehow help him understand. And while Pradeep is an avid reader and is making his way through these texts, he still has not found an example to match his own love for Connie. He is convinced that their love was unique. The fact that their specific love appears in no other books to his knowledge is an indication of that truth. Perhaps many people have never had this kind of love, he admits. Nonetheless, he feels lucky to have found his wife. He reiterates that he does not want the book to be a negative experience. While it may be filled with real and genuine pain, that is not all that it captures. It describes the chance meeting which led to over 40 years of devoted marriage. A young man from India with only $7 in his pocket manages to win the love of a beautiful young American woman. A woman who devoted herself to the education of others, including children, and gave back to her community time after time. The story is filled with instances of beautiful love and care. And while there is the powerful element of sadness and grief, the author wants to make one thing clear. His memories of her are happy. Though they may bring him pain, he wouldn't trade these memories or experiences for the world. The hidden message to come with this new perspective is that one should always try to understand the grieving person's mind. For the author, this is a person who had found the love of his life. Constance was his first and last love, and their life together was immense. He would prefer that people simply understand what he has been through, the good and the bad, rather than telling him, this is God and life. Forget about the past, life goes on. For Pradeep, Forgetting the past is impossible. Every trip that he and his wife made together is still with him. He refuses invitations, avoids certain locations, and would prefer to live a simple and high-thinking life at their home in Illinois. The pain of revisiting those places, where they had shared so many memories, is often too much. Just the idea of returning to the same restaurant or cafe or city is painful. Even the thought of it can bring on panic attacks, which the author has suffered since Constance's tragic passing. Grief is an ongoing and difficult battle, but life certainly does go on. Perhaps he will travel to places he's never been: Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Dubai. These were all on the list of destinations where the couple wanted to visit one day. Whatever the reason, they were unable to make it. Perhaps by fulfilling their dream to visit these places, he can respect her soul even further and find peace in action. The Untold Secret of My Connie manages to combine the best of life with its most painful. It is a story of love with many invaluable insights into the grieving process. With the author's painful experience comes terrific wisdom, and it is a true joy to see him put pen to paper and share his lessons with the world. The Untold Secret of My Connie, My First and Last Love with Medical Negligence, is available for purchase on Amazon.com. For more information about Pradeep and Connie's story, take a look at this fabulous text and let their story